My name's Dave Treat. I co-sponsor the FinTech Innovation Lab program with Maria Gotch from the Partnership Fund. I'm Senior Managing Director at Accenture and lead a group called Technology Incubation, where I get to play with all the latest innovative concepts. We're right now working on blockchain, extended reality, quantum computing, and robotics. So I'm incredibly pleased today to have one of our alums, actually a two-time alum with me, that I'm going to interview and allow you to hear all about the lab and how it works. But first, let me take a few minutes and just give you some overview of the FinTech Innovation Lab itself. So if we go to the next slide. The FinTech Innovation Lab, at the heart of it is a philanthropic activity by the who's who of financial and enterprise technology companies, in the major financial institutions in the New York area. We handpick through a review process that's just kicking off now, that hopefully all of you are considering, a set of companies where each of the financial institutions and typically the CTOs and CIOs of those companies lean in and really learn about the startups, and based on what their needs are and what they perceive to be important in their journeys, we hand select a small group of companies to take through this experience. On the next slides, you just get a sense of the overall program. We're now in our 10th year. We've, through the course of the companies that we've put through this program, raised over $1.4 billion by the alumni of the programs. We, through the course of the experiences, have done more than 280 proofs of concept, created 1,200 jobs in the New York metro area. There are 44 financial institution partners that you'll see on the coming pages that are the core lifeblood of the program, who are here to, again, donate their time. And you can see on a couple of slides here all the logos of the companies that commit their time to the program to really provide a tremendous experience and set of coaching and feedback to help you on your journey. Also includes key venture capital firms that participate as well. So this is an experience where you're able to get direct mentorship from 5 or 6 of the participating financial institutions or insurance companies based on who you are and what you have to offer. And it's a program that is not a sales environment. You're not there to sell, you're there to benefit from their experience and lean in to be able to help you shape your offering, shape it to their needs, and get that direct guidance and feedback. It's a chance for you to beta test, your products and services, get direct feedback. Again, because it's in a non-sales environment, you're really getting, some of the most valuable feedback you'll get in the entire life cycle of your company is what we believe in the feedback that we get. You're getting access across the financial institutions in a very guided manner. It's not you guessing as to who to go meet with or how to get access. You're getting this facilitated guidance through the different stakeholder groups in the financial services institutions as to who's going to care most or have the best input to you to help you, again, further develop your offering, product positioning, pricing, et cetera. We have over 30 entrepreneurs that participate in the program to, again, give another facet of the learning and coaching and guidance. We help with with workspace and the overall experience is a highly curated and facilitated one from the first moments through the end. I'm going to ask Jay all sorts of questions so you hear directly from someone who went through this entire program. But before I do that, just a few more points about about the program itself. We go to the next slide. So the leadership program that is part of this, really you'll participate in a series of weekly sessions, and this is beyond the direct meetings that you'll have with your sponsoring or mentoring financial institutions. We've got just a tremendous entrepreneurial group of incredibly senior business leaders, ex-regulators, and others who, again, are there donating their time on a philanthropic basis to really help you, give you direct one-on-one access to be able to ask questions, hear their guidance, understand the trends. And you can see some of the example panel discussions that are part of the program, where we talk through what is involved in doing an effective proof of concept or a pilot. How do you get beyond? How do you not have death by meeting, right? How do you get beyond the meeting to real productive interaction? How do you navigate procurement organizations and their processes? How do you think about the wider regulatory and compliance environment within which you're aiming to work? So this leadership program is another amazing facet of this program that just brings a tremendous depth of experience, really senior executives, all motivated by continuing to build the New York and New York area as the world's epicenter for financial innovation. Let's go to the next slide. Just some examples of who's in the mentor network that participate in those sessions. I won't read out all the names, but you can see here just tremendous C-suite or top regulatory leaders from our community, all who participate on an incredibly active basis. They love to engage and learn about all of the startups that are in the program, and are just a tremendous resource for you as we go through. Let's go to the next slide. So who should apply? Each year, what we do is engage with the financial institutions directly to hear from them as to what's top of mind, what based on their current challenges or journeys or strategic vision as to what they want to do next. What are those top topics that they want to engage with startups on and see in the program? And so 2 slides here. This first one is the feedback that we got around FinTech specifically, and I'm sure none of this is a surprise. I'll call out just a few of these. Obviously, financial services has started the journey to cloud, across the board. Finishing the journey to cloud is the key, and getting the majority, or if not all, of your applications and infrastructure in the cloud. So that journey continues, and is a challenging one and a complex one, and there's certainly a ton of room left for innovation left in those journeys as they try to get from the early or mid stages of it to getting to fully in the cloud. As always, cybersecurity top of mind, right? We can go minutes or hours between examples of why that is so critically important. Data, digital engagement, the use of AI, machine learning, the ability to think about brand new models with which to use data to deliver hyper-personalized or new services to clients, all incredibly important. Enterprise IT, of course, the financial services industry still has a massive legacy technology debt and the need to modernize materially, and the ability to do so in incredibly efficient fashion. So DevOps, low code, no code, rethinking the structures of how organizations share data, work together, et cetera, all incredibly important. And then the last two, COVID has just done such a massive catalyst to propel us forward in our thoughts around how to actually work remotely, how to collaborate with each other. We're doing things now that I think even with the most deepest pockets and most ardent strategic intent, never would have happened in a normal environment. And so how do firms are thinking deeply about what sticks, what stays, what becomes a pervasive change to our work environment, and how does technology help with that collaborative capability? How do you fold in compliance into a remote work context? All of these challenges around the future of work, what it means for our workforces, what are the skills we need to develop, et cetera. And then sustainability couldn't be more important. It's on the top of all strategic agendas across the board with these companies around not only what does it mean for them to be a sustainable organization, but how does technology and innovation help with their clients, and how do they fit within a wider ecosystem as it progresses towards more ESG and sustainable capabilities. If we pivot, many of the similar things from hearing from the insurance industry for InsurTech, and just put emphasis on a few different syllables. The insurance industry, heavily focused on its modernization, where it still has quite a bit of paper, and so that ability to really think through automation, I think, ideally leapfrogging some of the journey that other parts of financial services have been on, and being able to leap straight ahead to some of the most advanced capabilities around automation, around collaboration and client experience. I think those are all very consistent as they rethink the nature of how carriers, agents, brokers, third-party administrators, clients all work together. The insurance industry lives and breathes on data, and as the rest of financial services has done, and so that ability to help rethink the future of actuarial processes, risk management, et cetera, just incredibly important. So hopefully gives you a sense. This is directly what we heard from these senior executives of the sponsoring companies. So if you're offering something that's in these spaces, at least you should be emboldened that this is what they need. In terms of who should apply, there is a sweet spot for companies and startups for this program. There's definitely too early. And there's definitely too late, right? The needle to thread here are growth stage companies looking to either enter financial services or insurance, or already within. Having a beta version of your technology is key. You have to be able to show it and demonstrate it and do it effectively, quickly, in a compelling fashion. It doesn't have to be fully baked, obviously. Beta is key, right? Because you'll get a ton of advice and guidance as to what pieces of it may be relevant. We've had experiences where where startups come in with one platform, pitching it in one manner, and get pivoted entirely around to think about an entirely different application of it, and be wildly successful in being able to do so. But if it's alpha or it's just a concept, wait to apply until you've got that beta version of something that you can really demo in a compelling fashion. There is interest in solutions from other industries, so it doesn't have to be, you could be thriving or developing in another industry, but are looking to enter financial services and insurance, and that's fantastic. That works incredibly well. The financial services industry more and more looks outside of industry for examples of how to modernize and develop. And from a funding perspective, we're really talking about companies that are somewhere between seed and Series B, if that helps. So let's go to the I think the last slide here. Just some key dates. Applications are due soon, December 1st. So please get on the process and apply. We run a pretty strict process from that point. So get your applications in by December 1st. We then spend a ton of time with the financial institutions to review the applications. We do multiple reviews and filtering to really narrow down to a set that we'd love to interview. And so we're going to do the finalist interviews on February 3rd, and then 2 days later, a demo day of the shortlisted companies, to be able to spend more time, have the financial institutions spend more time with them, see the demos, spend some time, ask questions more one-on-one, and be able to then be able to pick our final slate of startups to take through the program, which will start in April and run through June. And it is, I think Jay will tell you firsthand in a second here. It's an intense program. And you get a ton out of it. So we happy to take questions as we can through. Sorry, let me see if I pay attention here and look at the tool and see if we're getting any. Do we take an equity stake? There is the partnership fund takes a small warrant as part of it. We can leave that offline or to another session to explain in more detail. And in terms of submitting multiple applications for different products, I wouldn't recommend it. I would focus on what you think is most relevant. so that we can really evaluate not just the product itself, but the startup and the company. I think the presentation, I will check offline. I'm pretty sure the presentation will be available on the website. If not, all of the information is available on the website, in different piece parts. So I've taken more time than I was supposed to. Let's get to the interesting part of this. I have with me a two-time grad. Jay is the CEO and founder of a company called Closematch, who went through the London version of this program first, and then went through last year with us in the New York version of it. And so, Jay, welcome. Really appreciate you being here. There's nothing like hearing about the program from someone who's just gone through it, as a great way to understand what it's all about. So maybe just introduce yourself and Closematch, just to give people a sense as to who you are.
Sure. Thank you, David. It's great to be here, and hi, everyone. I'm Jay. I'm the CEO of Closematch. We are a policy management, compliance, and regulatory change platform. We work with major global financial institutions, asset managers, and insurance companies. And we really use this opportunity of the lab to expand from the UK into the US. And it has proven to be extremely successful for us.
And you're a two-time founder, but I'm sure you heard about New York from participating in the London version. How did you hear about the London version?
So London version, I have heard about it about 6 years ago. We were in the Barclays Accelerator, and there was a mentor there who recommended FinTech Innovation Lab. So we applied in 2016, and we went through that program. Then we were probably a little bit early back then, but the level of engagement we had from financial institutions prompted us to apply to the US.
Excellent. And just, talk about how, what were your expectations coming into the program? How did they change during it? And what was your insight coming out, just in terms of what you expected versus what happened?
Well, I think what we expected was to get to a point where we can prove the product market fit in the US market. We already had clients in the UK and Europe, but US was a new market for us. We have seen a pull into the market. We have seen demand in the US, but we haven't validated it. And the lab really helped us to get that feedback, to get the product market fit. But actually, ultimately, very quickly, we found customers throughout the lab.
I'm just looking at the Q&A coming in online here. So someone just asked, do you need any customers on an application to apply? Where were you? How many customers did you have, coming into it versus now?
Well, this has been a record year as well. So I think we were in single-digit customers, and we're now just approaching over 20.
Yeah. Yeah, so to answer that question, it's certainly, again, there's a needle to be thread. If you're earlier and more adaptable, because you don't have a ton of committed customers already that have one expectation, and that ability to flex is valuable. But having some customers already to know that your ideas have been tested is always helpful. Just a specific point on the application process, just because that's where our audience is right now. Any insights, tips, or tricks around the application process, and maybe specifically, if you get shortlisted, down to the demo day, but maybe not selected, would you perceive that to still be valuable? And just talk about the application process overall.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually have done 3 times the application. We went through 2 labs. There was another application we've done to New York a few years ago. I think in the application process, it's very important, I feel, to highlight the problem that you're solving, and the problem should be relevant to the financial institutions. And if it's relevant to the current events, and I don't mean just COVID, but generally what's happening on the market, what financial institutions are going through, or insurance companies. And you can explain easily how the solution solves it. I think that plays a major role in the success of the application. The demo day itself has proven extremely valuable as well. It's actually from the demo day, we had a couple of mentors who reached out even before we were accepted, purely because there were projects in their banks going on, and we just fit very well within those projects. And you still get people who remember you even if you don't get into the program. People still remember you, and they will reach out if there is something relevant that they saw in your demo during the demo showcase.
Excellent. And I suppose, you know, in terms of the program itself, can you share some of the examples? What was some of the most impactful feedback you got, and you know, maybe both from the financial institutions as well as the mentors themselves?
Well, there was a lot of feedback. We had 77 meetings throughout the lab, and that is incredible. The feedback we were looking for was we actually had a number of use cases we could address with our technology. There is one predominant one, but we wanted to see if if our platform still fits within that predominant use case, or there are other use cases that we could explore. So that feedback was invaluable. We have seen so many departments, and because the environment is not to sell, but rather be open to the feedback, people are a lot more open. We even had feedback on our deck. Here is how you should show your product. Here is how you should address the problem. So it's not just the feedback on your product, but actually on your company. How does it fit within the organization? Will you get through the procurement process? Is your technology fit? If you deploy on AWS or Azure, what is the preferred way for that particular bank? All of this feedback is extremely valuable. We had, with one of the institutions, we had a call with head of cybersecurity, and he went through our entire tech stack and deployment method, and he told us, this is where you'll be okay, this is where you need some work. Imagine getting that from the bank that you're trying to get as a customer. That was beyond this world.
Awesome. You talked about so 77 meetings in 12 weeks. Just one of the questions that came in on the chat is the time commitment. Just talk about the experience itself, because it is an intense 12-week program.
Yeah, the experience itself. I actually think being virtual, we managed to get a lot more done, because having 77 face-to-face meetings would not happen in 12 weeks. But the experience itself was, the mentors were great at plugging us into the right people straight away, and very senior people. That has been the fastest shortcut you could ever get to a senior person who is interested in your solution. And the meetings would be not, do we want to buy your solution or not, but more in terms of, would this solution fit within our organization? What is our feedback? How would we want to change it, or where could you improve it? But the experience was, for me personally, I couldn't have wished for a better experience.
No, I'm glad to hear that. You talked a little bit, and I made reference to this, that it's not a sales environment. It really is an environment to get that kind of advice you got from the CISO. Was that a struggle? Was it hard to kind of turn off I imagine otherwise you were in constant sales mode. Just talk about that experience and how it played out.
I think sometimes it is a struggle to turn off to take off the sales hat and turn off that mode. But I think it's important not to think that, well, we have clients and we can solve you all of your problems, because that is a very quick way for people to get defensive. And we experienced a very warm welcome from financial institutions because it was framed very differently. Of course, I would add here is that if the bank, the financial institution is on the buy-in process and they put you into that process, I think that is the point where companies would benefit to bring a senior salesperson just to run with that process, but also bring all the other resources to show the institution that you're a company that can sell, that can implement, and that has the resources and the experience to do that. But only at the point where you're clearly on that buy-in path of the solution.
Yeah. I'm clubbing together a couple of questions that are coming in here in the Q&A. We take applications from anywhere, but it's with the intent of it's a philanthropic activity for the New York metro area. Just talk a little bit about your decision process. Having gone through the London version, and you talked about the U.S. expansion and using how did that play out in terms of what the lab did for you to be able to develop that U.S. presence and expand and build a base in New York?
Well, we at the time when we joined the lab, we had one customer going through procurement. It's actually one of the participating institutions as well, but we started talking to them earlier. Throughout the lab, we had, out of 6 banks, we had 2 banks who were seriously intending to buy a solution. And then by the end of the lab, they made a decision to become customers. That prompted us to start hiring in the US. So we had one person in the US. We started hiring for customer success and for other roles. But also we incorporated in the US. And we committed in our strategy to the US market. And that was just the validation that we're about to have 3 major banks as our clients in the US. That is a serious development for a company which is trying to expand to Europe, from Europe to the US.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, in what you just shared, right? You ended up selling, even though it was not a sale. It was not. It's a non-sales environment. Talk a little bit more about how that happened. Why? How did that occur if you weren't out there selling?
Well, the mentors were very good at knowing the internal workings of the organization. And they knew the projects which were on the go. Actually, with one of the banks, we were late in the process, and we actually have beaten the competition in 2 weeks, even though we were late in the process. And initially, we came in just to get feedback, but then as more and more people from those projects started looking at the solution, they started seeing something that they were looking for, a particular functionality or something that they were looking for but couldn't find before. And feedback session became more and more, well, how do you implement this? How long does it take? Can you pass our security quick enough because we have a deadline? And that very quickly became, okay, well, let's maybe discuss how we're implementing, and then the implementation discussion goes on, and then then you start the standard procurement process, IT, tech due diligence, legal review, and so on.
Yeah, it's the process of not selling and getting that mentorship, guidance, and lean in, and that kind of in that different dynamic. it leads to as the banks engage and love what they're hearing and feel like they're helping to shape it, you kind of having a sale is kind of a natural outcome of that kind of engagement. So,
I would add there as well is that the institutions we worked with, they looked at us more as partners rather than a company which is trying to sell to them, and that's why we were able to move quickly when they said, okay, let's try and see if we can do something here. And when you work, when you work with a client, a prospective client as a partner, I think that's when the best type of sale happens.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. So again, let's get back to the intensity of the process. Any thoughts or insights around, did this, what did this do in terms of the development of your company itself? Was it I'm sorry, I'm going to lead the witness, right? Obviously, valuable for you. I can see it. I can see someone being challenged to say, look, do I really take 12 weeks out of, what I'm doing right now? How would you guide someone to making that choice in terms of the development of their startup when time is so precious, certainly in the early stages of the journey?
Well, I would say you cut so many corners within the program purely because of the access you get to people, to senior people. You would have never spoken to those people, and you would take 12, 18, 24 months to get in front of these people in the right mindset where they seriously want to look at your solution and help you and provide feedback. And I think that experience just cuts out the next 2 years of trying to reach those organizations.
Yeah, no, it's a massive acceleration. So yeah. You're a really unique alum for the lab in that because you went through the London process, pre-COVID context, and then last year we pivoted to a remote construct for it. Just how did that go? How would you juxtapose the differences, or how did it work remotely? You talked about being able to have more meetings because we're not, you're not racing through the subway system. But what would you, how did it go, and what advice would you have for those that go through it now in that continued remote context?
I would say there were obviously differences. One of the biggest differences I mentioned, you could have more meetings, but also the availability of people in the organization, because people are not traveling. People are not all over the world, especially senior people. We managed to get very senior people on very short notice to meet us. And that is all thanks to mentors as well, who are interested in helping you, because I think the premise of the program is to really help companies in the program. And there is a level of commitment that the program asks from mentors. And that really helped us to get so many meetings so quickly. I think one thing I obviously missed is the personal connection, the meeting people face to face, the gatherings, the places where we could bond all together, not just with financial institutions, but also between companies.
Yeah.
Because we're still friends with all the companies that that went through the London program 4 years ago.
Yeah, no, it's the availability point has been incredible as one of the silver linings of this context. I guess take it all the way to the end and demo day itself and the experience and value of demo day.
Yeah, so the demo day was recording a video, which I had to take probably about 300 takes. Yeah, but the demo day was, I think it was very different because you're not in front of the crowd, in front of people. And I've done a few demo days before. And the energy is different, of course. But there is the possibility of reaching more people because not everyone can attend a demo day. But if you have a video which explains what your company does, then that video can be seen by a lot more people.
Yeah.
I actually had a lot of venture funds reaching out straight after the demo day because they've seen the video. And even, you know, if, a few weeks after the demo day, I still had funds reaching out.
Yeah, you know, we certainly miss the you know, Bank of America has been incredibly gracious to host us for the in-person demo days over the years, and you know, great experience in person. But you're right. I think what we saw last year of just the, you know, being able to broadcast and have a wider audience, the flurry of activity right after demo day was just incredible. I'm going to quickly read here and turn to some more of the questions that came in, and then we'll wrap with just some advice that you'd have for everyone on the lab experience, and as an applicant too. You know, knowing that you've now applied 3 times, you're you're an old hand. In terms of, I'm just going to cherry pick a few of these off and try to be responsive. So is there I'm working from the bottom here, so I apologize. The list of sponsors, mentors is on the website, and it's also in this presentation, which I think we're recording it, so we're going to make it available for replay. How mature is the insurance side versus the banking side? We're now they're both mature. We're several years in now to the InsurTech track that we've added. The insurance companies have it's been a great add to the program, and so we've seen some real richness of solutions that obviously cut across, because many of the, you know, the technology capabilities can cut across insurance, banking, capital markets, you know, across financial services. So I'm going to call it mature. We're a few years in now and have plenty of stories to talk through. Questions here. I'm trying to just pick off some. Here's an interesting one. You know, how is IP protected? If you show a solution, what prevents them from building their own? You know, Jay, what was your experience with that?
Well, one thing I would say is banks are not software companies. They obviously build solutions themselves for very core infrastructure and core banking services, but they also buy plenty of solutions. And in my experience, build versus buy, even if it's build, in 2 years down the line, they will still be buying the same that solution off the shelf, because for a bank to make a decision to build something, it's not just let's build it now. We only need 2 developers. You need to support it. You need to maintain it, update it, upgrade it, and that is a much bigger decision than let's just build something with a couple of people. So I was never afraid of that. It's a reality that sometimes that happens, and we had that happen. And you know, it's just one bank which is not buying your solution. They're not going to go and sell that solution to the market. Yeah, and if I pile onto that, you know, the banks are leaning into the FinTech and entrepreneurial startup community for that reason. That they recognize that there are things that they value partnering with. And so that has not been a problem, because that's not what the banks aren't looking to compete with startups. They're looking to partner and to you know, be able to integrate and advance. So I wouldn't be overly concerned about that beyond just the normal, you know, practice of how you go to market anyway. Let's see. Question around smaller regional or new entrant insurers, or is it skewed towards top tier market leaders? You can look at the logos on the site as to the insurance companies that participate. It is the larger leader insurance companies, but you know, who are part of it, but certainly have different size and composition. Trying to cherry pick anything else. We've just got a couple minutes here.
actually, before the clock runs out of me, let me go back to you, Jay, because this will be, you know, your best advice for, and let's break it into two parts. Your best advice for the application process, how to be one of the ones that are selected, and then best advice for someone who who if selected, to get the best out of your best experience out of the lab itself.
I think in terms of the selection process, it would really benefit if you make your application being able to if when you submit your application, a person who is not close to the problem will still understand what the problem is and how it has been solved, because not everyone on the selection committee understands every single problem that the bank has. So making it very simple, kind of to understand what is the problem and what solution you provide to that problem. The other one was, we had a clear plan. At the very last slide, we had a clear plan what we wanted out of the lab. And if that plan resonates with people who are selecting you or with the financial institution, then the mentors can start seeing how they're going to help you. So that clear plan of what do we actually want out of the lab, and where we want to get to by the end of the lab, I think helped us. And throughout the lab, there is a lot of advice which you get upfront. Before it starts, there are sessions with mentors, sessions with financial institutions, sessions with Partnership Fund and Accenture. So there is a lot of advice, but I would definitely say listen to it, because there are hints from mentors and from others in terms of how you would be successful. And always follow up, be very engaged throughout the lab, because people give up their time. It's not their main job to run, to help startups. So they give up their time, but they expect your time in response as well.
Thanks, Jay. It was a pleasure to have you in the program, and thanks for doing this session. I hope for those of you who are watching, it was helpful to get a sense as to what the program is all about, and how best to apply and engage. So thanks very much, and we'll continue to look for everyone's applications and offer additional forums for Q&A and information. As always, you can go to the FinTech Innovation Lab website for more information. Thanks very much. Thanks again, Jay.
Thanks, everyone, and good luck.